Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Before we do get started, though, I wanted to provide some housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to you following this meeting. We also have a couple of minor, had a couple of minor changes to the slides. So following the meeting, I'll also resend an updated version of the PowerPoint so you all have that. Also, before we get started, I wanted to take a moment for ROV staff and city staff to get more acquainted with each other. I know that there have been quite a few staffing changes at the cities, so I would like to ask that all city clerks introduce themselves and their staff to the ROV. Then during each of the presentations sections, ROV staff will also introduce themselves at the top of those presentations. So with that, I will go ahead and call off each of the cities and ask the city clerk to share your name, your staff's names, and how long you've been with the city. So we will start with City of Campbell.
Hey, yes, City of Campbell's here. This is Dusty Christopherson. I'm the city clerk here. I've been here for about a year. It'll be just about a year in May. With me is Andrea Sanders. She is the deputy city clerk here. It's just the two of us in our office, and she's been with the city over 6 years now.
Great, thank you. City of Cupertino.
Good afternoon. This is Kirsten Squarsha, City Clerk. I've been with Cupertino for going on 13 years. It's my third year as City Clerk. And Lauren Saputer is the Deputy City Clerk for Cupertino for going on 3 years now. She's present as well.
Thank you very much. City of Gilroy.
Sorry about that. My name is Ty Pham, City Clerk here for the City of Gilroy. I have been here since December of last year. And before then, I was the Deputy City Clerk for City of Emeryville, and I'm currently looking for a Deputy City Clerk for my city here.
Thank you very much. City of Los Altos.
Hi, my name is Andrea Shalamingos. I'm the city clerk for the city of Los Altos. I'm here today with my deputy, Angel Rodriguez. Angel, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm the deputy, as Andrea said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Town of Los Altos Hills.
Deborah Padovan for Los Altos Hills. I've been the city clerk with Los Altos Hills since 2011. I currently have no staff, but in 2.5 weeks, I'll have a new admin. So you may be seeing her at the ROV, but right now I'm running solo.
Great, thank you. Town of Los Gatos.
Afternoon, this is Shelley Miss. I'm the town clerk. I've been with the town just coming up on 23 years now. Also on the call is Jenna DeLong, my deputy town clerk, and she's been with the town just a little over 2 years.
Thank you. City of Milpitas.
Hi, Wendy Wood. I've been with the City of Milpitas for a little over a year, and online as well is my new deputy city clerk, Suzanne Gazzetta. She started here in January of this year.
Thank you. City of Monte Sereno.
Hi, Michelle Radcliffe, or Estudillo now, with the City of Monte Sereno. I've been with the city a little over 1.5 years, and I also have my deputy city clerk, Gloisy Gonzalez Langrica, on the line. Gloisy, did you want to say hi or anything?
Hi, everyone. I'm Gloisy Gonzalez Langrica, deputy city clerk. Been with the City of Monte Sereno since 2018, end of 2018.
Thank you both. City of Morgan Hill. Okay, no one here from Morgan Hill. We'll move on to City of Mountain View.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather Glazer. I'm the city clerk, started in April of last year. Before that was the city clerk for the City of Malibu in Southern California. And I'm joined today by Wanda Wong, who's our Deputy City Clerk. She's been with the city for about 21 years. And Mary Monlux is our Assistant City Clerk, and she started in November of last year. So happy to be with you all.
Thank you. City of Palo Alto.
Hi, I'm Leslie Milton. I've been with Palo Alto for the fastest 10 months of my entire life. And I have two new deputies with me, Mahealani Ayan and Vinlock Nguyen. They just started in November, so we're a very new crew here in Palo Alto. Happy to be here.
Great, thank you. City of San Jose.
Good afternoon, everyone. Joy Rodriguez, Assistant City Clerk. Been with the City of San Jose for about 8 years, the last 2.5 as Assistant City Clerk. It's Council Day, so I'm the only one in attendance. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. City of Santa Clara.
Good afternoon. I'm Nora Pimentel. I'm Assistant City Clerk. I don't have my deputy city clerk on here or our elected city clerk, so it's just me. I've been here since September of 2018.
Thank you. City of Saratoga.
Hi, everyone. I'm Britt Averett. I've been with the City of Saratoga for about 7 months. Prior to that, I was in the City of Carmel and the City of Lancaster, and I am a one-person shop.
And City of Sunnyvale.
Hi, David Carnahan, the Sunnyvale City Clerk. I've been here for 3 years and joined today by our Deputy City Clerk, Sandra Barajas, who's also been in the clerk's office for 3 years, but was in our Library and Recreation Services Department for years before that. Sandra, can you just unmute and say hello for a sec so everyone can see you?
Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone here today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it for the introductions. Thank you, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. So the ROV appreciates your attendance and the opportunity to provide you with information related to processes and collaboration with staff during the November 8th general election cycle. During the next couple of hours, you'll learn what the ROV requires of your jurisdiction prior to, during, and post-election cycle, be provided with helpful resources, and be introduced to our amazing staff. So please sit back and enjoy this 2-hour presentation, and feel free to raise your hand or ask questions at any time. We will stop periodically between division presentations to check in with you, check to see if there are raised hands and or questions in the chat. So let's get started. On this slide, you'll find some general information about the ROV, and in subsequent slides, you'll be provided with specific contact information for division staff. Here is a list of the Registrar of Voter on our website. There are many popular services that can assist you and your constituents throughout an election cycle, such as where you might be able to find election results, how to register to vote, and how to look up your district. These are among a lot of helpful resources that you can find on our website. And then for today's agenda, it is divided into 11 key sections that includes information related to ROV administration contacts, opening remarks, candidate services, mapping, ballot layout, fiscal, precinct operations, public and legislative affairs, voter registration, vote by mail, and then we will end with some Q&A. Each division will provide specialized services, information on specialized services, and at the end of the presentation, you'll have a greater idea of what to expect from each of the divisions. And should you have questions, each division section will include contact information. So you are welcome to contact each subject matter expert with your questions via phone or email later on or after this presentation. I'll now turn the presentation over to the Assistant Registrar of Voters, Virginia Bloom, who will speak on behalf of the executive team and provide some opening remarks.
Thank you, Bren, with much appreciation. Welcome everybody to this meeting with the County of Santa Clara Registrar of Voters office. We really do appreciate your time and the fact that you've come to spend some time with us this afternoon in anticipation of the upcoming November election. This particular year, there's a lot going on, as we all know, happening not only in the election cycle, but throughout our county and our voting processes, to say the least. My name is Virginia Bloom. I am one of the 3 executives that we have here with our office. I'm sure that most of you know Shannon Boucher. Shannon has been with the County of Santa Clara for, let me look at my notes here, for 32 years. Of those 32 years, 26 and a half here with the Registrar of Voters office. She was appointed interim Registrar of Voters in 2013 and then appointed registrar in 2014. So she has been with this office for quite some time. There's many, many years of experience. Our second assistant registrar is Matt Morales. Matt has also been with our office for 20 years, working exclusively in Santa Clara County. So we have a wealth of information right up at the top, the years and years of experience. I am the second assistant registrar of voters that we have here for this department. I, like you, am a former city clerk with many years of experience and over 30 years doing elections work, and the past 7.5 have been here with Santa Clara County. We have a total of 13 divisions within the Registrar of Voters office. There's 5 divisions that are focused on operations, and those directly report to Matt. We have 5 that are focused on administrative processes, and those report to me. And then we have 3 that report directly to Shannon. In total, we luckily, under Shannon's leadership, we have been able to grow our staff substantially during the time that she has served as the executive leader here at the Registrar's office. We are up to 101 full-time employees at this particular point in time and are recruiting as we speak for permanent positions within our department. Hopefully most of you will know that we did purchase a new voting system in 2019. We are still with the Dominion voting system. Democracy Suite is the new system that we have. And the June primary election that we are currently working on at this particular point in time is our 4th countywide election with this system. So the upcoming November general election will be the 5th countywide election that we will be using this system with. There's a lot of enhanced improvements with this new system. The majority of the processes are all electronic now at this particular point in time. And it's really a very interesting process. As I'm sure you all know, our office is open to observers, and we get quite a few during the election cycle to come in and observe the processing. It is very interesting, and you are more than welcome to come down at any point in time. Should you be interested and want a tour, don't hesitate to ask. We wanted to remind you all that in 2020, in 2019, the Board of Supervisors did approve our changing of our voting model here within the county to the Voters' Choice Act. And that biggest change is going from individually assigned polling places to now vote centers. This will be our 4th countywide election using the VCA model. And what that means is that everybody gets a vote by mail ballot that is a registered voter within the county, whether they're registered to receive vote by mail or not. They're automatically going to get a vote by mail ballot. We will be opening our vote centers 10 days prior to election day, and those vote centers do expand in number up to 3 days prior to election day. So we do range in the number of vote centers that we have for each election because it is based on our registration counts. There are still some voters that are not yet acclimated to this process. We still do get some phone calls of people that call us saying that they want to be able to go to their local school that's right around the corner from their house, rather than going to the mega vote center that is a couple of blocks or miles down the street that they actually have to go to. So we're still fielding a lot of these calls from our voters. Please be advised that for every single election, part of VCA requires that we send 2 direct mailers to every single registered voter. We have done that for the past 3 elections. We're in the process of doing that now as we speak. So every voter will get 2 individual postcards directly addressed to them regarding the specific elections, as well as their county voter information guide that gives them information of what's on the ballot and how they can access that information. We are very fortunate to have a large team of very dedicated election officials here working for us. I am happy to be a part of this session to introduce them all to you. Please don't hesitate to reach out to each and every one of us. We're all here to serve. So welcome again. Thank you everybody for your time, and let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Virginia. So we'll move on to the Candidate Services Division. So the Candidate Services Division provides information to candidates and jurisdictions, not only during an election cycle, but throughout the entire year. We are here for you if you need to submit a resolution calling for an election, be provided with election materials and deadline dates, direct candidates to submit election forms, FPPC forms, and or update candidate or jurisdiction information. You can reach out to myself, Bren Lair, Elections Division Coordinator, and Christina Rivas-Louis, Elections Process Supervisor, for any questions. In preparation for the November 8th, 2022 election, general election, each jurisdiction must file their adopted resolution with the Board of Supervisors and the Registrar of Voters on or before the following dates. July 6, 2022 is E125. This is the date for resolutions for governing board elections to meet the timeline for a full nomination period. So the ROV does encourage resolutions to be submitted as early as possible. July 18th, E113, E113 is when the nomination period opens. This is the first date candidates can pick up and or file nominations paper in your city. August 12th, E88 is when measure resolutions are due, as well as when the nomination period closes. This information is highlighted as a reminder to set all deadlines on your calendars. You will also be able to find on our website an abbreviated calendar with a far more comprehensive list of dates, due dates, and we can get that information to you as well. Cities were provided forms earlier this year that included a resolution template and information sheet. It is important for jurisdictions to provide detailed information to assist CSD staff with accurate maintenance of district files, as well as proper submittal of resolutions. We'll discuss this in more detail on the next slide. However, you were also provided several other nomination forms. The ROV asks that you have your candidates fill out these additional forms, such as the candidate information request form, preferred transliteration form, request for Vietnamese name accent form, and the candidate statement of qualifications form. We'll be reviewing these forms in more detail at a candidate school that will be scheduled about a month prior to the opening of the nominations period. So you'll get word of that soon. Among other duties, the Candidate Services Division thoroughly reviews resolutions for election specifications such as the correct election codes, number of offices, and term of length, full or short terms, statements of qualifications, current mapping, methods to determine ties if applicable, board member names, and if seats are elected by district or at large. The division will closely work with each of the cities on sections of the resolution that may need follow-up. After the review is complete, the Candidate Services Division processes the resolutions and distributes to other divisions such as mapping, ballot layout, and election logistics and voting systems. These divisions continue to process your information to ensure GIS maps are accurate, county information guides have correct candidate and jurisdiction information, and our election information management system is up to date with all current contests. On or before the 88th day deadline, which is August 12th, 2022, when resolutions are due, jurisdictions are encouraged to hand deliver hard copy documents to the ROV's office at 1555 Burger Drive to ensure timely processing. Please be aware that Elections Code Section 10403 also states, and as I alluded to earlier, you will need to file your original resolution calling your election with the Board of Supervisors, and then file a copy with the elections official, which is us. So you, again, need to send that original to the County Board of Supervisors and then hand deliver or mail us a copy, depending on the timeline. Just get it to us as quickly as possible. The Candidate Services Division thoroughly reviews measure election resolutions for specifications such as calling for and requesting the ROV to consolidate with the statewide election, listing the date, type, and purpose of the election, the measure question in no more than 75 words, and ensures there's a passage rate of the measure, whether the full text is to be printed, and which newspaper to publish the notice of election. When receiving resolutions related to measure elections, the Candidate Service Division will work again closely with each division on the sections of the resolution that may need follow-up. Please keep in mind that the measure lettering justification form is also due at 5 o'clock p.m. or by 5 o'clock p.m. on E88. The Candidate Services Division thoroughly, oops, that didn't move. Candidates must be eligible to run for office when one of the following occurs. Please contact our office to confirm the residency requirement of the candidate is met before you proceed any further. The city would fill a vacancy by appointment, or during the nomination time, candidates must pick up and file nomination documents at your office. It is also important to know the rules for counting words in a candidate statement. The candidate statement heading includes the candidate's name, which is required, age, which is optional, and occupation, which is optional. These words, however, do not count toward the number of words allowed for the statement. All statements will begin with the words education and qualifications. There's also an example here that we are sharing with you that shows what the candidate statement looks like in the CVIC. The occupation field in the candidate statement is not governed by the same laws pertaining to the ballot designation. So be aware that those two entries do not need to be the same. So the occupation on the candidate statement can be different than what the ballot designation shows on the worksheet. Words will be counted according to the following guidelines. Each word shall be counted as one word except as specified in this section. All proper nouns, including geographical names, shall be considered as one word. For example, city and county of San Francisco. Each abbreviation for a word, phrase, or expression shall be counted as one word. Hyphenated words that appear in any generally available standard reference dictionary published in the United States at any time within the 10-year calendar years immediately preceding the election for which the words are counted shall be considered as one word. For example, mother-in-law, first rate, one time, these will all be counted as one word. Each part of all other hyphenated words shall be counted as a separate word. For example, one half, local area, and home page will be counted as two words. Dates shall be counted as one word. Any number consisting of a digit or digits shall be considered as one word. For example, 100. Any number which is spelled out shall be considered as a separate word or words. For example, 1 shall be counted as one word, whereas 100 shall be counted as two words. Telephone numbers will be counted as one word, and website addresses shall be counted as one word. Punctuation will not be counted. Additionally, characters used in place of a word or number and that stand alone, such as an ampersand, a dollar sign, a percentage, or a hashtag, shall be counted as one word. Characters used in conjunction with a number and necessary to combine, such as $100 or 100%, are not counted. For example, $100 is counted as one word, while hashtag vote for me would be counted as 3 separate words because the hashtag symbol is not counted. If the text exceeds the words or line limit, the author will be asked to amend their statement to bring it within the required word or line limit. Candidates must file specific fair political practices forms to ensure legal compliance. For instance, office holders who do not have a campaign committee but receive a stipend of $200 or more per month from a district must file a Form 470 no later than July 31st of each year. If a candidate is running for office, he or she must file a Form 501 to announce their intent to run prior to collecting funds. Once the candidate receives $2,000 in contributions, he or she must then file a Form 410 to set up a controlled committee with the Secretary of State, then at various times throughout the election and biannually while the committee is open. The candidate must also file a Form 460 to report his or her financials. Please call the Candidate Services Division for general FPPC questions. FPPC filing calendars and abbreviated election calendars are available on our website if you have further or need further information about that. Thank you for the opportunity to present our division's information. Is there any questions before we move on to our next division? It looks like City of Gilroy raised their hand.
Yes, thank you. My question is that my resolutions are actually now done digitally. Signatures are no longer wet. So the question is, how do I submit that to the supervisors? Should I have that be done via wet signature only?
According to what I understand, the jurisdictions who now allow for docu-signed resolutions, it is okay to submit those. I would still provide a copy to the clerk of the board's office rather than just emailing it to them. I would provide that copy over to them, but a docu-signed version is okay.
Excellent, thank you.
And we have 2 other participants raised hands, but I can't see the chat, so you'll have to speak up.
Wendy Wood.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, yes, I just had a question because I know you said that the documents had to be hand delivered or mailed to the registrar's office. And prior to the 2020 election, I know that we always scanned them and submitted them via email. And I was just wondering why there was the change.
Bren, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. It's not necessarily a change. It's just so that we can receive to hand deliver. If it's really close to the deadline, just make sure we get that. Call us and get it over to us as quickly as you possibly can because we do need to have it by that 5 o'clock timeline. So if for some reason it's not transmitting through email, whatever the case may be, just make sure we get it by that 5 o'clock deadline on E88.
So just to clarify that you do require us to hand deliver each document.
It should be hand delivered because it should be it should be mailed or hand delivered, whatever the case may be, to the appropriate location. So the clerk of the board will need an original or a docu-signed version. So that should be taken over to them or mailed to them. So as long as they get that, as long as they get that original, doesn't necessarily have to be hand delivered. We are just suggesting that if it is very close, you hand deliver it so that you ensure that they receive it. If you intend to put it in the mail, make sure you put it in the mail in well enough time for them to receive it before that 5 o'clock deadline. So the hand delivery is not a requirement necessarily. It is a suggestion and recommendation to ensure that your resolutions are being submitted on time and to the appropriate locations per the elections code. Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think there was another question. Dusty? Dusty?
Yeah, it's a ballot designation question. This is the city of Campbell. Is now a good place to ask that question?
I believe so.
Okay, so we're going from, we have an incumbent who is going from voted as a citywide, and then now she's going to be on the ballot the first time as a district. And so can she use the incumbent phrase since it's the first time running in the district?
I would have to look at the elections code to ensure that that is appropriate. So if you could actually send me an email on that, I will do some research and make sure that we can give you the correct answer.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it looks like we have another person who has raised their hand.
I see Britt.
Okay.
Hi, this is Britt. I just have a question with regards to your FPPC filings. Are you the elections official? So this is why you want all that? I was always under the impression the city clerks were the elections official, and so we receive the forms.
That's correct. We're just providing some information to you. That's all. But yes, you are the elections official and you should receive those forms.
Okay, the slide that you're showing says the FPPC form 501 should be filed with the Registrar of Voters before any funds are collected.
Okay, that is a mistake. So just ignore that.
I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing. Thank you very much.
You're not. You are also always correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on?
David
and Dusty.
Yeah, I was just going to say for Dusty, Sunnyvale just transitioned from at-large to districts, and our candidates were not able to use incumbent because they were in an at-large seat. That office no longer existed, and their new district seat began to exist. So incumbent, right? They're not an incumbent of their district, so they could use council member, but not incumbent. So my guess is that would be the answer. That seemed what we discovered in our research.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
We'll still take a look and make sure that every scenario is meeting the elections code. There could be some differences between those, but please send me the question and we'll certainly check into it and make sure that we're giving you the appropriate information.
Dusty, did you have a follow-up question?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, if there were no other questions, then we'll move on to the mapping division.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Bob Nguyen, and I am in charge of the GIS Mapping Division. In order to improve the accuracy of your city boundary, in late 2017, to prepare for the major elections in 2018, the GIS Mapping Division has established what's so-called a district boundary review process, in which consists of several key components. A tracking log that contains all the district boundary changes, which is required by the state auditors, and the outreach to our district and city officials. GIS Mapping Division will want to have all the participants as much as we can in this process. And we always encourage a two-way communication between the jurisdiction and the Registrar of Voters to verify the most accurate boundaries. If you need any information about your city boundary limits, what currently in our system, please contact me. We will happy to provide that information to you. Next slide, please. By law, the jurisdictions are required to provide the ROV with boundary data at least 125 days prior to the election day. The GIS Mapping Division uses a geographic information system for much of its work to determine boundary data accuracy. The division would greatly appreciate receiving any boundary data in a GIS format and a list of the APNs or the accesses parcel numbers containing the property addresses if a voting district is still at large, or by city council or trustee areas if a voting district breaks down to city council or trustee area before or at least 125 days prior to the election day. Next slide. The GIS Mapping Division uses boundary information that you provide to maintain and update the current voting district, voting precinct boundaries used in the election. There are 3 specific items needed in this process to create the best accurate boundaries as possible. Number 1, the official resolution of the city annexation or partial transfer from LAFCO. 2, the current jurisdiction boundaries in a GIS data format, such as shapefiles or feature classes in a geodatabase, and a list of the property parcels, residentials and commercials within the boundary that include the accesses parcel numbers and the addresses attached to each of the parcels. Next slide, please. The GIS Mapping Division cannot complete their work without your help, and asking for your trust and your cooperation during this process. The GIS Mapping Division staff are the expert who have access to multiple sources, and you are the expert of your jurisdiction. Together we can review and improve the boundary data accuracy during our election preparations. And we thank you for working side by side with us. Next slide. For a transparency purpose, the GIS Mapping Division will send your jurisdiction a boundary review package containing the following materials. A city boundary map with a sign-up section and the instruction sheet. Next slide. During the district boundary review process, your jurisdiction will experience the OV deliver a district boundary review package. The jurisdiction will review the district map and determine whether or not any boundary changes. If there is a change, then the jurisdiction should want to change on the hard copy map, contact the OV, and then just send the data to show what boundary changes have been occurred. Once received the information, the mapping division will update the boundaries and send back to you a new map with the updated jurisdiction boundary for your review and approval. If a jurisdiction had no changes or the updated map is now accurate with the GIS Mapping Division will request to complete the sign-off and send a map back to the ROV. Once the sign-off map is received at the ROV, the jurisdictions part of the annual district boundary review is complete. Next slide. Here is the example of the map that is created by the GIS Mapping Division, with the areas in yellow indicate the old boundary and the area in blue indicate the boundary changes. For instance, the streets and parcel layers are included for your reference. Please note that many of the maps will not have such a large difference, shown as in this slide here. The jurisdictions must be on the lookout for smaller areas to verify. Next slide. If there is a change in your jurisdiction district, or if the current city boundaries in our system is different from the data in the jurisdictions record, please circle no on the sign-off map and no on the map or reply with the changes is needed to make the map accurate. The GIS Mapping Division will review and update the changes and send it back the updated version for your review and sign-off. Please fill out the jurisdiction boundary sign-off section after thorough reviewing the map and have no additional adjustment to send back to the ROV. Otherwise, if there are no changes to be made, please also complete the sign-up section and send the package back to the ROV. Thank you so much for doing that. If you is planning to do the redistricting or changing voting methods from at large to city councils or trustee area, here is you may look for additional information for data accuracy, and I would like to encourage you to compare your district boundary data with the State Board of Equalization and the County GIS department. And I provided here two useful URL link that pointed to the State Board of Equalization tax rated area map, and the county GIS have the open data portal that of the county parcel based map is available online for free download. So please look into this information at the time that you are planning to do the redistricting. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Before we move on to our next division, ballot layout division, Christina is going to share some information that Virginia has been putting in the chat. So if you could read that information off and let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Brent. Hello, everybody. So in the chat, we have a note about the CSD presentation. The city clerks are the election official for each of their respective cities, but our office is here to support you in that regard. Another note is there is a lot of important information contained in this PowerPoint, so please know that you can reach out to any one of us for any questions that you may have. Virginia provided her email, virginia.bloom@rov.scc.gov.org, and her phone number, 408-282-3135. Also, please know that our office is also recruiting for election workers for the June 7th, 2022 election. To start at this time, let's see, should you know anyone who may be interested, please refer them to our office. And we're always looking for bilingual election workers. Lastly, we have a large display in our atrium about redistricting, so please come on down and check it out. Really, really nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. So I'm going to go ahead and move it on to our next division presentation for ballot layout.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Liz Oviedo, Election Division Coordinator for the Ballot Layout Division. And here with us is Lillian Tsai. She's the Elections Process Supervisor for the division. A requirement to work in a division is to be bilingual. Our staff speak, like all together, we speak, I believe, more than 10 languages. All right. The Ballot Layout Division is responsible for the production of the official ballots and county voter information guides. The guides are printed in the 5 federally mandated languages of English, Chinese, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. Next slide, please. The official ballots include optical scan paper ballots, accessible touchscreen, and audio ballots, remote accessible ballots originally designed for the military, overseas, and visually impaired voters, and now available to all voters. Translated versions of the ballots are available to voters in the languages of Chinese, Spanish, Vietnamese, Tagalog, Hindi, Japanese, Khmer, Korean, Punjabi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu, and Nepali to comply with federal and state mandates. Next slide, please. So it's a total of 14 languages. Our division retrieves the Declaration of Candidacy and Transliteration language forms from the Candidate Services Division. We also retrieve the candidate statements and all measured documents. We copy, scan, and convert all documents into Word files. We format the documents and perform multiple rounds of proofs. In the November of 2020 election, we had over 318 unique ballot types, over 200 candidate statements, and over 100 measured documents. And all of these documents were published on our guides, and they were also produced in the translated versions. And next slide, please. We recommend that all documents are carefully reviewed prior to submitting them to our department. It is important that all handwritten information like names of candidates and occupations are legible. The gender information is necessary for us to translate the proper occupation. So this is the only reason why we ask for the gender in the forms. Any additional markings introduced during the word count could become, like, if someone is marking their documents, counting the words, and a little pencil mark could become an apostrophe or a period when it's converted into a Microsoft Word format, and it results of multiple rounds of edits and proofs. And next slide, please. All documents are formatted with standard headings based on our guidelines. We need to know in the original documents where the text begins and where the text ends. For those documents, measure documents that include maps and images, we need an additional file, whether it is a JPEG or TIFF file, and this way, when we print it on our guides, would be clear. Titles in the arguments and rebuttals also need to be clearly marked in the forms. And then handwritten names of the signers and their titles also need to be legible, and the gender must be specified. If the information is not clear or if it's missing, we would need to reach out to the Candidate Services Division, and they would reach out to the cities for clarification. And next slide, please. The author review process has been very successful. It's been implemented for a few years now, and it provides an opportunity for jurisdictions and authors to sign off on documents. When our English format is finalized, our division emails the candidate statements and measure documents to the jurisdictions for approval. Jurisdictions are given over 24 hours to review and sign off of the documents. And please feel free, and this is the last slide, please. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz. I wanted to stop here and make sure I did neglect to ask if anybody had any questions for the mapping division. And then also if you have questions for ballot layout division, this is a good place to stop and ask. And it looks like there might be 2 hands raised.
I didn't see who was first, but we have Ty Pham and Britt Everett.
Hi, I have 2 questions, one for each of the divisions. The first one for Bob. Is it possible to get a large map of for the city of Gilroy? Because the city of Gilroy is actually have unincorporated areas around the city, and there's some parts of the area that actually is unincorporated within the city itself. And would it be possible to receive from the ROV? And the second question I have is, what if a candidate is non-binaries, and when you're translating their candidate statement, and they don't use he or she, which pronoun would you use in that particular format?
Our form now has, so Candidate Services has modified the form so the candidate can specify. It is important to know the information, because we found out after we received some translations. For example, we have the language of Kamai. A person would say it different if you say yes and you're a 1-1, you say it one way, and if you are a male, you say it a different way. So Candidate Services normally retrieves that information, and our forms provide a space for the gender. So it's not just male and female, but there's I don't have it in front of me. Bren can probably tell you a little bit more about it. But we do have the opportunity for the candidate to state other, and I think there's a couple other options in the form.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, we definitely, Ty. We can provide you the hard copy map for your city. Just contact me, then we'll print out the map ready for you to pick up.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hi, it's Britt. I just have a question about the 24-hour review. Will the deadline ever fall on a Saturday or a Sunday? I had it happen in a previous county where I had 24 hours and I was out of town on a Sunday. So I want to make sure if that's going to happen here.
We usually do it during the week, but sometimes so we do have a printing deadline, and we may have a weekend, not a weekend, a holiday in between. But normally we do the 24 hours. That's why we give a little bit more than 24 hours in case there's a holiday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And to kind of double back on the question about the candidate, there's a couple of forms there that have provided the transliteration format of androgynous and other. I'm sorry, I'm losing it. But anyway, that information was provided to all of you. I will re-forward that email if none of you did not see that yet. But those forms are available to you by that email that was sent out earlier a couple of months ago. And you'll see on there that the forms have that information included as to the type of format for transliteration of candidate statement and other information.
And
Okay.
Dusty?
Oh, and Dusty, okay.
Yeah, quick question for the GIS part. You said that the jurisdictions need to approve the map for that. When do you send those maps out and ask for their approval? What is the timeline on that?
Normally, it is in the December of I'm sorry, in the October to the first week of December timeframe of the odd years. For example, we recently sent out the district boundary map for your final approve and review and approve back in the during September to the last week of October 2021. So when
Okay,
you when you review it, to make sure that you send it back to us.
Okay, so for those jurisdictions that did the redistricting in April and that we sent you the map and all of that, that's the last round. There isn't a separate one after that.
If you are doing the redistricting, then we will send you another round for the new district boundary update for the redistricting. Normally about a month to a month and a half after we receive the data from your city.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any more questions before we move on to the next division?
I see a couple of just notes in the chat.
Brand, I see somebody named Dusty had their hand up.
I think Dusty just spoke.
Okay.
I think.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. And did you want to share the information in the chat, Christina, real quick?
Sure. For those that aren't able to see the chat, we just wanted to clarify on the ballot layout division slide that Lillian's name, it is correct. Her legal name is Feng Chen Sai, and her email is associated with that. And then from Virginia, she has a note that the author review allows the city clerk to review all materials to be printed in our guides. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll go ahead and move on to the fiscal division.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rong Qian, the fiscal officer for our division. Our fiscal division is in charge of all the accounting services for our department, including cost estimates for each election. So if you have any questions related to cost estimates, you can send an email to us or contact me directly or our accountant, Train Dao. So in the next few slides, I'll go over the current approved fee schedules. Next slide. So the price and cost in this presentation are the most current approved fees. We are working on updating the fee schedule right now, so we expect to see changes in the near future. So Section A of our fee schedule are the election service fees. A1 are charges for the primary and general elections that cities, school, and special districts will incur. Our fixed rate is charged per registered voter plus additional costs for legal publications and ballot printing. A2 are charges when special elections are called. The costs of elections are based on actual costs incurred. So normally, fiscal division will ask jurisdictions to deposit 70% of the estimated cost that was provided at that time. Next slide. A3 is the minimum charge for jurisdictions participating in a primary or general election. 6,182 will be charged per jurisdiction per contest, plus the cost of legal publications and ballot printing. A4 is the minimum charge if a special district does not go to election due to insufficient nominees. $2,048 will be charged per special district per contest plus any legal publication costs. Next slide. A5.1 through A5.4 are charges for the voter information measure pages. Measure pages contain the full text, impartial analysis, arguments, and rebuttal, plus any additional printing costs. Next slides. A6.1 through A6.4 are charges for candidate statements for judges and other candidates, depending on the number of words that are printed in the voter information pages of Civic, plus any additional printing and running cost. Next slide. A7 are charges for research and compilation services, $95 minimum, plus any $95 each half an hour. A8 are charges for certification services at $88 each certificate. B section are the miscellaneous voter and election information fees. B1 and B2 are charges for the electronic versions of the voter file and other miscellaneous election information at a $129 flat fee. Next page. Section C relates to vote by mail voter information. C1 is a charge for the electronic version of an initial request at a flat fee of $129. C2 is a charge for the electronic version of updates, daily or weekly, at a flat fee of $65. Next slide. Section D relates to precinct maps fees. D1 is a charge for black and white maps at $5 each page. D2 are charges for an original standard printer or plotter maps. There will be an initial 73 setup fee with various printing fees for size of pages ranging from $5 per page to $30 per page. Next slide. So these three are charges for an original custom printer or plotter maps. There will be an initial $142 setup fee with various of printing fees from $5 per page to $30 per page. D4 is a charge for standard digital maps with a 73 setup fee plus $3 each map. D5 is a charge for custom digital maps with a $142 setup fee plus $3 per map. Next slide. Section E relates to statement of voters fee. E1 is a charge for photocopies of special and parts of primary and general elections at 10 cents each page. Section F relates to registration affidavits and postage. F1 is a charge for photocopy of an affidavit at 10 cents each page. F2 is a charge for printed copy of scanned affidavit that is not certified at 10 cents each page. F3 simply notes that postage and handling will be charged at the actual cost. Next slide. Section G relates to FPPC reports fees. G1 is a charge for FPPC photocopies at 10 cents each page. G2 is an FPPC retrieval fee for document more than 5 years old at $5 each request, plus any copy is at 10 cents each copy. Section H relates to photocopy charges, that's 10 cents each page. Next slide. Section I relates to miscellaneous service fees. I1 are actual labor cost fees for petition signature verification based on time studies and indirect costs. I2 are actual labor cost fees for redistricting based on time studies and indirect cost, plus costs of services and supplies in mailing notices to all registered voters. I3 are actual labor cost fee for recounting based on time studies and indirect cost, plus costs of services and supplies calculated in according to different election codes. Next slide. So as mentioned earlier in the presentation, additional fixed cost charges per candidate statement include $2,000, $343 for our 200-word statement, and $3,000, $516 for 400-word statement. So printing cost per page per sample ballot ordered is based on actual unit printing. Normally, it's about 1 cent to 2 cents per page. Next slide. So in addition to candidate statement charges mentioned earlier, there's a fixed cost for measure pages of $7,405 per full page of 800 words, which includes text of the measure, impartial analysis, arguments, and rebuttal. Printing cost per page is about 1 cent to 2 cents per page. That's all the fee schedule information for our physical presentation. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us from the email or phone number in our introduction page. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Thank you.
It looks like Deborah from Los Altos Hills has raised her hand.
Yes, hi, and please, other clerks, don't hate me because it's a possibility. Let's say I'm going to cancel the election. What is the minimum fee that I will be charged? It looks like the other one said special district, and I forget the amount, but it said if they have insufficient nominees for a special district. I was wondering if that's the same for a city. What is the minimum we would be charged if we maybe canceled our election?
So we will charge on the actual cost, what we already spent. So if that's the case, you don't have enough nominees, we have a minimum charge. But if we already spent, it depends on which stage you are on. Like you didn't even start. We didn't order vote center cost. We didn't order all the supplies. We didn't mail out ballots, do anything. So then that's the minimum charge.
Okay, I think that that makes sense. I just wanted to make sure because it said special districts and I wanted that to include jurisdictions as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we realized that we didn't include cities and school districts, and the new fee schedule will include that information.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we move on to the next?
I saw Dusty's hand and then David.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. You're mentioning, right, the new fee schedule. So can we move ahead, assuming for November 8th that number on slide 45 of $2,343 is the price for 200 words for the November 8th election, or is the fee schedule update going to potentially impact that?
So the current schedule is effective 2020, start from 2020. Normally we update this fee schedule every couple of years. So right now we are working on it, and then it's under review right now. So if that's passed, the current schedule shown on this slide, it will be used to charge for June election. If the new schedule, fee schedule is passed in the board meeting, then it will be effective for fiscal year 23. So which means November 2022, this second half of the year, the election will implement the new fee schedule. It will be different from whatever you see here.
Okay, then we definitely would all love to hear the outcome of that if it changes, because if we have folks that need to pay that, we want to make sure we're charging them the right amount before we get a bill for it. Thank you.
Sure. So before we make any changes or even before the board meetings, we will send out the notification to each jurisdiction to let you know.
It's Britt. When do you anticipate it going to the Board of Supervisors for approval?
So this is the estimate. So if we get approval from County Council, everything goes smoothly. So we plan to go to board meeting around May or June.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on. And we're going to move.
I do have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you have an estimate of what the increase is going to be so we can budget for that in our next year's budget?
Sure. The increase for some may not be changed, like mapping cost, but the base charge or this fixed charges, it's different for each item. I think I remember it's about 5% to 15% for each, ranged from 5 to 15% for each item, something like that. But if you have special needs, and then after June, if we implement the new fee schedule, you can send cost estimate request to us.
So I already have a cost estimate from you. So, but there's a potential for it to increase by 5 to 15%.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any more hands up and no questions in the chat.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the Precinct Operations Division.
Okay, can you hear me now? Right.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paulo Cheng. I'm the Election Division Coordinator for the Precinct Operations Division. I do have, my team is composed of 2 supervisors. Lance Noddle, he's the election supervisor, 2 for training, and then we also have April Barcamonte. She is the supervisor for the operations team. We also have a team of outreach staff, and they work together with me. Okay, so we basically have 2 main operations going on here in Precinct Operations besides outreach. And those are the 2 operations directly related to supporting voting and the voting process. Operations, again, is run by April Barcamonte. She cannot be participating today, but what they do is they search for vote centers, they contract vote centers, and then they ensure that each of these vote centers is visited with scouts. We look at the vote center to make sure it's ADA compliant, and of course then can be used at a vote center. She also looks at the hiring of vote center staff. Every election we do need to hire both monolingual and bilingual staff. The operations team also schedules all the people hired to work at the vote centers. So all the election officers we hire, they have to be scheduled to a class and then to work at a vote center. All this is done within the operations team. When it comes to training, basically everyone and anyone who wants to work at the vote center has to be certified an election officer. In other words, they have to come to a class and they're giving theory and they're giving also hands-on practice. And I'll talk more about that in a few slides. These classes actually started already last Monday. So this is week 2 of election officer classes going on prior to the June election. We do, of course, also have outreach. And what we do with our outreach team is we participate in every community event to which we're invited. We also regularly search for events throughout the county. We're very interested in going to different communities, different age groups, and basically anytime we find an event that we think we can reach out and do some sort of advocacy and even voter registration, we'll sign up for that event. So if you ever know of any events that are going to happen in your neighborhood, in your areas, cities, please don't be shy to reach out to our outreach coordinator, that is Natalie Gosby, and you can find her at outreach@rov.seccgov.org. So our email is always the same, rov.seccgov.org. And for that one, we have the outreach email. We also, of course, do high school outreach, okay? Unfortunately, though, we have not been active with high school outreach since the outbreak of COVID after the March 2020 election. And so it's been very hard to go back to these high schools and schools in general to provide voter education and pre-registration. We've been able to go to some of these schools, but mostly it's because the teachers are super proactive and they have been working with us for a long time. They know we are here to help them, so they'll call us out and we'll support them as much as we can. Okay, so if you're interested and if you want to learn more about this, so any young adult can actually work with us. But these numbers that I'm showing you are based on the November 2020 election. So even back then, as we were not able to go to high schools, we still had so many high school students interested in being part of the presidential election that their teachers knew about this and their teachers encouraged them, all of them, to apply and work at a vote center. So we in fact ended up having about 383 applications, of which only about 70% of the students were able to work with us. We did also go, we had different outreach events, about 80 and more. And of course, at those events, not only do we do just meet the public, but we do also voter education presentations, student recruitment, and pre-registration recruitment. In other words, students or any young adult 16 years and old, they can actually pre-register. So by the time they turn 18, they are automatically registered and they'll receive a vote by mail ballot to vote at the next eligible election. Okay, so we do have many meetings. Many times we meet with the teachers and the counselors, but if you have any ties, any connections with any schools, high schools, any sort of educational location, please let us know, because we'd like to start making inroads again and be able to go to these sites. For the high school student volunteers, most times we ask them to work at least 2 days. And because they're high school students, they can actually work Saturday and Sunday and then election day on Tuesday, okay? And it's great because they either can opt for credit, community credit, or they can opt for a stipend fee. So obviously the more days they work, the higher that fee goes, okay? We will pay them to attend a training class, a nominal fee of about $20, and then per each work day, and then on election day, they also get paid. Plus, if they're bilingual, they get an additional $10 fee. Okay, so it's really good opportunity for these high school students to work, help us out, and get a sense of how voting works and how important it is for them to vote when they become of age. Okay, now if you do again want to contact us, feel free to send us an email to hi.school@rov.seccgov.org. So again, outreach and hi.school, those are 2 emails you can always reach out if you wish for us to come by, talk to you more about what we can do in terms of voter education and advocacy. So now let me switch gears and talk about this upcoming election in June, okay? So for this June election, we have 101 vote centers contracted or almost contracted and then ready for the June election. We always contract several facilities, right? Different types of facilities. At the end, it comes down to who is available to help us out, who is available to give us their facilities for as many days as we need, and where those locations are situated, okay? Also, when we search for a vote center, for example, on year like 2022, we not only search for the vote centers for the June election, but when we search for the June election vote centers, we also try to contract the same facility to both June and November, because then we get 2 contracts done for the year. And then as soon as the June election is done, we can then start dealing with the hiring of staff again, instead of having to search for vote centers and staffing at the same time, okay? Of course, the vote centers are throughout the county. We try to have them distributed as evenly as possible, but it comes down to the availability of each facility, okay? So we do as best as we can, and we've always had a good turnout at the vote centers and a good spread of vote centers. Again, as I mentioned in the previous slides, we do make sure that each vote center is ADA compliant. We do have a thick, almost phone book-like rules that we have from Secretary of State that we have to make sure that each vote center follows and is able to host any voter coming in. Okay. Now, all these vote centers, we do want these vote centers to be available to us anywhere between 6 and 12 days, and sometimes even more. And that's because, again, as a voter, all you care about is that you have a site to vote for up to 10 days. But for us, we still need to go in and deliver the vote center supplies 1 or 2 days before the election day starts, before the early voting starts. And then after election day, we have to go in a day or two afterwards to pick up the supplies and clean up the place. Okay, so it's a very long process, but I'm glad that we always find the vote centers that we need. Now, also for the June election, the first day of early voting will be on May 28th, Saturday. So this will be the first weekend of voting. Weekend of voting starts on May 28th. Please make a note because this is great, okay? The next weekend, we open the remaining vote centers. So on May 28th, roughly 24 vote centers will open. And then the remaining vote centers will open on June 4th, okay? So what that tells you is that you will have 2 full weekends to vote. So no one has to rush anymore on a Tuesday. Again, if you work in Palo Alto, you don't have to rush down to Gilroy, if that's where you live, to try to vote before 8 p.m. You have 2 full weekends to vote. No one has an excuse not to vote or to say I didn't have enough time to vote, okay? And so, of course, throughout the early voting days, vote centers will be open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., including lunch breaks, okay? So everyone is welcome to come in and vote. Okay, now going back to the March 2020 election, we hired over 1,200 vote center staff. The goal is always for us to have enough staff in case someone is not able to come in or someone has to leave early because, again, emergencies do happen. So we want to have 12 staff, and this is a mix of volunteers and hourly workers. And we have that many because we also need to fulfill and have bilingual staff. So we need to have a mix of different staff. And so we do as best as possible to have all we need to have at the vote centers to provide support to the vote centers. Again, not only hourly staff, but also volunteer staff will get paid a stipend, plus the high school students. We are currently, right now, we're hiring for the June 2022 election. At the moment, we pretty much already have 95% of everyone that we need already booked and ready to go, okay? But if you know of anyone who is interested in voting, have them copy that link that I just put on the messaging. That's the link for anyone to apply online. And so you have to apply online. You have to apply online to with the county, and then once that application is referred to us, we will then be able to call these applicants and see how many days they can work with us, and then assign them to a specific vote center throughout the county. Okay, so again, the sooner they apply, the better, because the classes are ongoing, and we also have to end the classes before we open the vote centers on May 28th. Okay, so we pretty much have about 2 months left of classes. We need to make the most of finding people to vote. So please refer anyone that is interested to this link so they can apply ASAP, okay? All right, so as I mentioned, the classes already started about 2 weeks ago. In fact, last April 4th, okay? For this election, we do want to hire about 2,000 staff. And I say that because, again, even if I hire 2,000 staff, does not mean that 2,000 people show up to work, okay? Especially for this election for this year, with the economy the way it is, and with everybody going back to work and still looking for other jobs, we will find people that agree to work with us. We'll hire them in January and February, and then we find out afterwards that they found another job and they're no longer available, okay? So it's constantly trying to find people to work with us. So we need people not only to help us at the vote center, but also here in the office. The vote center staff training and certification runs up to 3 days. Anyone that is the lead at a vote center, so this is pretty much the person in charge of the vote center, they need to come in for a 3-day class. Aides or the other staff that are processing the voters and helping with the vote center, they'll come in for a 2-day class. High schools of volunteers, they'll have a limited role. Most of them will be greeters. They'll be welcoming the voters and giving them basic information at the entrance. They come in for a 3-hour session. And these are the classes that we can have in the morning, AM and PM sessions. And if we do have a big group of students from any high school, many times we're able to go to that high school and do a class for those specific high school students. Vote center work days, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just the voting day and the early voting days, but it's the setup day, it's the pre-election work days or the early voting, it's the election day, and then the end or the pickup day. So again, any vote center that opens on May 28th, anyone is assigned to work at that vote center will pretty much work for about 13 days. That's up to 2 days before, in other words, May 26th, 27th for the setup, and then work 10 days of voting, early voting, and then 1 day of voting. And then on the Wednesday after election, they still have to show up at the vote center to help clean up, or not so much clean up, but put back the supplies together so our ELVS team can come in and clean up the vote center. Same thing for anyone that is assigned to work at a 4-day center. They work up to 6 days, more or less, okay? But these are what we're looking for, okay? Okay, so let me see what's next. Okay, so also Brent mentioned earlier, it was mentioned earlier that we now have implemented the Voters' Choice Act. We've had a few big elections already. And so what this does for all of you is that you are no longer restricted to voting on election day. Okay, you now have more days, more places, and more ways to vote. And by more ways to vote, I will explain that in a few seconds from now. Okay, but this is great because again, like I said, if you have your parents, family, cousins, friends, young, voting children and the kind of thing, you can actually all meet together, have a big party in a weekend and go vote together at local vote center, okay? No one has to try to vote on a Tuesday afternoon after work before 8 o'clock. So this is so much better for everyone else. Also, what the Voters' Choice Act means to all of us in general is that as a registered voter, automatically we all will receive a vote by mail ballot packet. On that packet, you will have the information needed to vote. You're going to have a vote center list, you're going to have a drop-off list, plus the ballot and your I voted sticker, okay? So this is a great option for all of us, and I think this is why so many counties are now adopting the same voting methodology, okay? All right, now, how can you find the vote center locations? Okay, so it's easy. Always come to our vote center. So on our vote center, you can go and look for the Vote in Person tab. When you click on the Vote in Person tab, you will actually be able to download a PDF list of our vote centers, but you can also go in and search a vote center by address. For example, you're at your favorite In-N-Out, it's your lunch break, and you actually have time to go and vote. You can get your cell phone, go to our website, and find a vote center next to the current location. Or you can plan for the weekend and say, okay, I live on 1 Main Street, Gilroy. Where is the closest vote center for me nearby 1 Main Street, Gilroy? And our web application will then tell you where to go in and vote. All right, so plenty of options. Now, for the future, if you are interested in having a vote center in your area, please email April Barcamonte. Okay, we're always glad to receive inquiries from any one of you and take that information down. What we'll do after that is we'll go and survey to make sure it fits the sizing that we need, parking, ingress, egress, all those things, everything works out. And of course, that is ADA compliant, but most of all, that it's available for as many days as possible. But even more important of all is that you're going to give it to us for free. Okay, so if you have any free locations that we can use as a vote center, let us know. We'd love to snap that from you. Okay, so let us know. Okay, so almost to the end here. Now, another benefit of the Voters' Choice Act, okay, is not only that you have multiple early voting days, but you have the technology to assist and allow many voters of different abilities to vote in person, okay? Now, as Liz already mentioned, you do have the REVBM option, which allows voters with disabilities to vote from home. This REVBM option at the moment is available to any voter in the state of California. Of course, we also do provide bilingual staff at the vote centers in the office and when you call us on our hotlines. Okay, so we go again beyond what we should, and we do as best as we can to provide as much information as we can and languages. We also have electronic poll books. These electronic poll books, of course, are used at the vote centers to check in voters. The voters sign in, and automatically we'll be able to print a ballot type on demand for that specific voter. So again, no matter where you live in the county, let's say you live in Los Altos Hills, but you're actually in Palo Alto, and you want to vote in Palo Alto, you can walk into a Palo Alto vote center. For example, Stanford, it is one of our vote centers, and check in, print a ballot for where you live in Los Altos Hills, and get to vote your local ballot. Okay, so these are all things I'm sure you've heard before, but super important to be reminded, because that's the benefit of having this technology. Promotional materials, of course, we do have lots of promotional materials. You can find most of that material in our webpage. Of course, our PLA media, our media team does a great job of sending this out as public releases in our social media. And of course, our outreach team. Anytime you see our outreach team in the field, you can go to them and ask them what publications they have that you can use to make copies or to distribute. Okay. Also, what we're going to do in the future, in fact, I think we already have this, is that all the pamphlets, all the resources, informational resources that we have, we give out at the outreach events. We have a list of all those items on our outreach webpage, so that any one of you can go in and open those documents and print it yourselves, or at least share with someone. Okay, these are all documents that are already available to the public, but what our outreach coordinator, Natalie Gosby, does here is that she'll look for this information, consolidate it in one location for the benefit of all of us. Okay, now, of course, promotion materials are also given out by our high school coordinators when we go and meet the young adults who will one day be voters. Okay, and so that's pretty much what I have in here. I do want to mention something when I'm talked about the hiring difficulties. Not only is it difficult for us to hire vote center staff, but of course, my colleague Mike Fong, will talk a bit later on, is also having a hard time finding drivers. So if you know anyone that likes to drive trucks or vans, please talk to Mike. He'll appreciate having a few referrals coming his way for drivers and other material handlers. Okay, so before I leave, though, I want to say something I want to send a shout out to Joy Rodriguez. I believe she's with City of San Jose. I'm still waiting for the City of San Jose to have 12 contracts signed. And once those are signed, the election for me is pretty much official. We're ready to go. A list of 101 voters can then be made public. Okay, so I'm just waiting for you guys to sign that contract. No pressure, Joy. Okay, no pressure.
Got it.
Anyways,
Thank you. I'll relay your message.
and we can talk more with you offline anyways, because Jose can't wait to actually talk to you about this. But I know we already talked about this, so it's in the hands of those libraries and public parks, but that's pretty much it. So anyways, that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for all of you for listening in and being a part of this, of helping us out. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Paulo. Are there any other questions? I do know that there's a couple of notes in the chat that Christina will share, but I wanted to open it up for questions first to Paulo.
I'm not seeing any hands yet.
Okay.
I do see that Deborah wrote down, would be helpful to get flyers or info in order to promote through our social media. If someone could please send, would be greatly appreciated. So we'll do that. Deborah, I'll ask for your email from Bren, and then we'll send you some information. Okay.
Okay. And then Christina, did you want to share a couple of pieces of info in the chat, I think?
Yes, thank you. So Virginia wrote, all vote by mail ballots are mailed May 9th for the June 7th, 2022 election. Early voting starts May 9th in the ROV office. Vote centers are open May 28th through Election Day. And we have a note from the ROV outreach team. It says, apply ASAP to work at a vote center at the scgov.sccgov.org/get-involved/vote-center. You'll see it in the chat. And bilingual workshops are also available at in the chat. Rather than saying them out loud, there's 2 websites there. If you can navigate through there, if not, let us know. We can resend it in an email. Thank you.
Right, and I'm also posting some of the media that was created by Evelyn Mendez and her team with our PLA team. And these are the ads that we are going to very soon start sending out through social media to promote our voter language workshops. Okay, so as Liz mentioned, we do support in terms of ballots up to 14 languages. And so we do have to have these language workshops, and we welcome every community to come in and join, because we'll pretty much give them a concise, presentation on the Voters' Choice Act and also the options for every community to vote in. And so those are in all of these languages, plus also in English, okay? And of course, at the end of the presentation, we do open up the floor for questions from anyone in the community. So again, thank you very much to everyone.
All right, thank you, Paulo. We'll go ahead and move on to Public and Legislative Affairs Division.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Paulo, for segueing into my presentation. My name is Evelyn Mendez. I am the Election Division Coordinator for the Public and Legislative Affairs Division. I do have our Associate Communications Officer. He's also on this call, Michael Borja. He works side by side with me. So if you can't get a hold of me, you can find him. But the Public and Legislative Affairs Division is the mouthpiece for the ROV. So we're responsible for any social media, any media inquiries we get from reporters or anyone from the public. If anyone wants to do schedule interviews or coordinate any tours of the areas around the division so they can get a good feel of what's happening around here, they schedule that through us. We also monitor legislation. So we're tracking any legislation through the Capitol or anything that happens that might affect the ROV. And we share the information with the rest of the divisions to determine any of the impact on the division's processes. We are responsible for maintaining our social media accounts. So if you guys can, please follow, share, and tag us. I know most of the cities are following us. So that's where you get the up-to-date, quick information on what's happening or if there are any changes in any of the announcements that we need to make. So right now we're going through this first ad phase, and it's just basically we want to get the word out to people. I know you guys have heard it from people, there's what's going on in June. They have some people have no idea that there's an election in June. We are responsible for making sure we get the word out so people know something is happening in June and then again in November. But for June, this is the ad that we have out. You guys might have seen it. We do have advertisements on all the buses, and we have some on billboards right now. We have a now hiring campaign. I think you've heard all of us mention that we're hiring. It takes a lot of people to put on an election, and we can use the help from all of the community to help get the word out that we are hiring. And that's the information where you can get the phone number or the website. And we will also, I think, Deborah, you asked in the chat if we could share the flyers. We will share that with you too. So these are just some of the ad phases that are going on. Like I said, we have all the buses, ads on the front and side of the buses to let people know. We have information translated flyers in different shopping centers throughout the community. We have it in Spanish, Korean, and Chinese. So you might see them on shopping carts while you're out there going shopping. That's just some of the ad campaigns we have going on. We have some going on with the Sharks and with other partners around the community. We are responsible for our social media accounts, like we had mentioned. We have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Nextdoor, YouTube. More importantly, on our YouTube channel, we have a link to all of our how-to videos. So all of our how-to videos that explain how to register to vote, how to vote by mail, how to vote in person at a vote center, how to vote if you're a voter with a disability, how to vote military overseas, and a commercial on now hiring. All those videos also have a ASL component, and they are all subtitled in all the languages that all of the other managers mentioned. So they can go and it'll be in all the languages, like I said, and available on ASL. We have a lot of partners that we do with radio, TV, you name it. They come down and they want to come see us on Media Day. So if you guys want to come on May 11th, this is my public service announcement for our Media Day. All the media comes down here. So precinct operations and Paula's team can show how to use the voting equipment if you go to a vote center, or if you want to see how the machines are sorting the vote by mail ballots, or if you want to see how they're opening and slicing. So there's a lot of different things that are happening on Media Day. Like I said, that's on May 11th, but there is also an opportunity for all the media to come and interview our staff. So some of our staff will have staff available in all languages to do interviews for any of the outlets that request it that day. So it's a good intro to what's happening with the election, and a good way to see all the processes and what's going on around the division. Now, like I said, we do follow all the legislation, so we're tracking all the bills that are related to elections, just so we're not caught off guard if a bill changes or if a law changes, and we make sure that our divisions are caught up and informed on what's happening at the Capitol. So I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't remember if that was the last one. Do you guys have any questions? We do in the past, we did give all of you a copy of our media toolkit, which we'll give you guys that again, and we'll give you some flyers. I know Paolo had mentioned pre-registration. So we have birthday cards for anybody that's turning 16, 17, so they can pre-register to vote. So we'll give you a packet with the media toolkit and things like that that you can hand out. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ab. If there aren't any questions, we'll go ahead and move on to voter registration. We do have a couple more divisions to present, and we are coming up to the 2-hour mark. So I do want to share that we will do our best to get you out of here on time. So do you have a question?
No question.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move that on to voter registration division.
Thank you, Bren. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Saenz, Election Division Coordinator for the Voter Registration Division. Also on the call with us is Janora Blow, who is the Election Process Supervisor. Our division is responsible for voter file maintenance, signature verification, and both in-person and over-the-counter customer service. We are here to assist you with any voter registration related questions, confirm voter registration, and help answer any questions related to the intake, verification, and certification of local initiatives and referendums. In 2016, the statewide voter registration database known as VOCAL went live. VOCAL maintains the voter registration information for all voters in all 58 counties. Using VOCAL, voter registration applications and existing voter records are run against the California Department of Public Health in search of voters who have passed away, and the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for any voters who have been convicted of a felony. Any applicants who are confirmed to be on either of those lists are not registered to vote, and any existing registrations are canceled. In 2018, federal law required the DMV to provide customers the opportunity to register to vote while completing a driver's license or identification card or change of address transaction. Excuse me. DMV customers are automatically registered to vote unless the voter chooses to opt out of the automatic voter registration. Now, if the voter is already registered to vote and visits the DMV, the information received at the DMV will be used to update their existing registration. Next slide, please. City clerks typically file their local petitions with our office for signature verification. Petition filings should be made in our office during business hours. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we do remain open during lunch. Upon filing, we will ask you to submit a letter of authorization and ask you to complete a couple of internal forms. Some of those forms are available beforehand. Should you wish to receive a copy of those forms, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'll be happy to provide those forms to you. Within 30 working days of the petition filing date, our office will count the number of signatures affixed to the petition, and we will also verify the signatures filed with our office using a random sampling technique. Upon completion of the random sample, our office will immediately certify to the city clerk's office or proceed to a full count as necessary. It's also helpful for us to be notified of when petitions are being circulated in your city so we can prepare for the workload. Next slide, please. Upon filing of the petition, our office will verify either 500 signatures or 3% of the number of signatures filed, whichever is greater. If after verification, the number of projected valid signatures shows less than 95% of the number of signatures required to qualify, the petition will be found insufficient. If the total of projected valid signatures is more than 110% of the number of signatures required, the petition will be found sufficient. If after the random sampling technique is complete and the number of projected valid signatures shows between 95 and 110%, our office will have 90 working days from the date of filing to complete a full count. I know this is a lot of information, and our office is currently working on petition/signature verification guidance for city clerks, including FAQs that we do look forward to sharing with you all fairly soon. Does anyone have any questions?
I just had a quick question, just a clarifying question,
Sure.
Julia. So you mentioned 90 working days, but the slide says 60. So I just wanted to confirm we have the correct number there.
It should be 60.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great. All right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Julia. Is there any other questions for Julia before we move on to the next division? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move on to vote by mail division. And this is our last division, and then we'll have one quick, just small information from our elves division, and then we'll do a quick Q&A and we'll be done. So go ahead, vote by mail.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pam Hamilton, and I'm the election process supervisor for Vote by Mail. Vote by Mail is responsible for mailing of ballots, which Virginia mentioned, we're going out on May the 9th. However, military overseas ballots will be sent out April the 8th through April the 23rd. And so also we're responsible for the recruiting and logistics of drop boxes. So for this election, the drop boxes will be placed at the locations between April 27th through the 29th. And then on the 9th of May, the drivers will go back out to the locations and open them so that they are open for the public to use. And so that as well. We are also responsible for receiving of the ballots as well as signature verification. We're responsible for informing voters when their ballots are not signed, as well as if their signatures do not match. Also, we do, let's see, we have the emergency delivery program, which is for the residential homes as well as the incarcerated voters here in Santa Clara County. And also we have the Safe at Home program, which I'm not sure many of you know, but it is the domestic violence victims. And so we work with the Secretary of State's office, who allows certain voters to be eligible for that program. And then we send the ballots to Sacramento, and then they disperse them within our county. So also for how to return the ballot in our office, you can either send it by mail and no postage is required if you use the envelope that we provide. And ballots are to be postmarked on or before Election Day and be received in our office by 7 days after the election. You can also drop it off at a vote center, which is opened up to 10 days before the election. And also, last but not least, at our ballot drop box, which is located throughout Santa Clara County. If you need to request a replacement ballot for some reason, if you may not have received it, you made a mistake, all you need to do is call the office, email us at votebymail@rov.scc.gov.org. Please make sure that you send it to us 7 days prior to the election. If it's done after that time, you'll need to come to either the vote center or to the office and pick up your replacement. Please make sure to discard your old ballot and only send in one ballot per voter. And I'm trying to think of what else you need. And in regards of, it's been discussed before, so you can come into the office and vote by remote access, remote accessible vote by mail. And that is also available in our office as well. And I believe, so in regards to our drop boxes, I mentioned earlier, we will be dropping them off April 27th through the 29th, opening them on the 9th. And many of you have asked how many times we service. The first 2 weeks, we service them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then the second 2 weeks, they are picked up daily. And I believe that is it for me.
All right, thank you, Pam. Does anybody have any questions for Pam? Looks like City of Gilroy.
Yes, sorry. Thank you. I am wondering if a mailbox is full, what do we do? And it's still during the daytime.
Just give us a call and we will have someone come out to the location and empty the box.
Okay. Since we're in City of Gilroy, how fast of a turnaround time is that?
We have different routes, so it'll be a route that is handling Southern County.
Okay.
So it won't be from anyone from coming from Palo Alto. So it should be within the hour.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks like we might have one other person raising their hand or two other people.
Nora?
Thank you. I just wanted to see.
It's difficult to hear you, Nora.
Oh, sorry. Could you repeat the date of the drop off of those boxes again?
Absolutely. The boxes will be delivered April 27th through the 29th.
Thank you.
Did we have another question?
I'm not seeing any other hands.
Okay, so we just have a couple more minutes left. I did want to have Mike Fong from our Election Logistics and Voting Systems Division speak very quickly on the tally equipment and couriers, so you guys have some information on that as well.
Hello, everyone. I will talk as quickly as I could possibly can. My name is Mike Fong. I am the manager in charge of the Election Logistics and Voting Systems. My colleagues like to call it ELVS, but I like to call it ELVS or Elvis. We are the division that is in charge of counting all the eligible ballots, organizing the ballots, and sorting all of these ballots for manual counting and or archiving later on. And the division itself, we are the one that does the mass mailing of all the 1.2 to 1.3 million CVIGs that goes out to all the registered voters prior to the election. And it's my division that maintaining the programming, securing the voting equipment that is used at the vote center, as well as the ones that are counting the ballots in our office here. We provide the supplies, the equipment, we deliver them, we retrieve them. We basically provide logistical support to the voting system, as well as the voting centers and many other logistical supports in the office. The ELVS division is also, the staff are the gatekeeper of the word that you heard a few times already, which is our election management system. We are the one that maintains a physical security, cybersecurity, and user access security. So there are an authority group that makes sure that only allowed authorized staff have access to these systems. We are the one that runs the logistics of picking up the ballots at the end of each voting day from the vote centers, and vote by mails groups drop boxes on the last 16 days of the voting days, because we have to use couriers to pick up or to clear the boxes every day for the last 2 weeks, as well as the voting location every day, and at least twice on election day. We maintain the amount of equipment is basically about 4,350 pieces of equipment. That includes the tabulators, the ADA touchscreen machines, the ballot on demand printers, a series of laptops, as well as 1,200 smart tablets that we use as a voter registration check-in so that we know who voted pretty much almost near real time. And we keep track of that. We maintain the equipment, we follow it up, and we do all of the logistics work for it. And of course, we provide all of the logistical needs in the office and the vote centers, in a sense, all around. We are a big moving division. So in the future, I will have, in a sense, image of the equipment that we use and how much tonnage of materials that we move during an election season. And one last thing that I wanted to tell you is that Paolo mentioned it. We use couriers. These are 2-people team in a car. And the group that we normally get volunteer from are the local civic organization groups. You might know them as the Lions or the Kiwanis or the Boy Scouts. And also we have families and friends and individuals who like to do this for us every election. They basically drive to a location, pick up the ballot, seal the bag, make sure all is good and all the forms are filled out, and bring it back to the ROV so that we can process all of the ballots. So that's what the Logistics and Voting System Division does. Any questions? No problem. You can always ask questions anytime regarding our process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. So this does conclude our presentation, but I did want to reach out one more time in case there were any last minute questions for any other division. And it looks like City of Gilroy.
Yes, one last question from my end. I actually did receive the forms back several months ago, and I just noticed, I've noticed it a while back, that some of the forms for the general election are not in it. Like, for example, the ballot designation, the declaration candidacy, the nomination paperwork, et cetera. So I'm just curious, will those be provided later, or do we just need to change the primary ones and just say general?
No, you will get those a little later. The SOS has not actually released those yet, so they will
Okay.
provide us that information. And once we get that, I will get that out to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Christina, anything in chat?
In chat, yes. Let's see. We have from ROV Outreach, tag us on your social media at SCC Vote. A deputy city clerk said, great job to everybody. And ROV Outreach again, Gilroy voters can also drop off their vote by mail envelopes at one of 4 vote centers in Gilroy. And Virginia, thank you to everybody for joining us today. We greatly appreciate your time. We look forward to working with you for your upcoming November general election. Feel free to join us for the June election to learn more about our processes. Our office is open. And couriers are needed. Feel free to email mike.fong@rov.sccgov.org. And then we're getting a bunch of thank yous from all the attendees. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We do, again, appreciate your time. And just as a reminder, I will be sending out some information soon regarding candidate school that will come up somewhere in June. We'll get that scheduled and get that out. So any of your candidates who would be interested, as well as any of the city clerks and their staff can attend. So this concludes, and feel free to email us or call us with any additional questions. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice seeing a lot of you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.